Julian Smith is here in the studio with us this morning. You heard him there playing the soprano sax. He was playing Somewhere from West Side Story. 50 years old that musical is now. It's just opened up the Hippodrome to celebrate. So very appropriate that you played that, Julian. What's it like to hear that back this morning?
Well, it's a while ago since it happened, and it's just kind of shocking, really. It's still very emotional to listen to it back and hear the comments and how the audience responded to me. It's still quite touching.
So you like the way they've edited it all together?
I thought it was fantastic. I mean, that was the thing. I kind of knew that it went well, and I knew how I played, but I didn't know how it would all be, edited and put together. But I think they did a fantastic job. And
there was some criticism that you took a while to get ready on stage. So what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't completely my fault, to be honest. The guys obviously set my equipment up beforehand because I wasn't going to be walking on and then doing that. So they put my equipment on the stage, and they tangled my microphone lead up with the mains lead behind the amplifier. So I kind of had to sort that out while I'm holding my saxophone in one hand and trying to sort that with the other hand. And then the next problem was I went to press play on my iPod because I was doing the backing tracks myself. And it was a little iPod Nano, and if anybody knows, there's a tiny lock on the top, and that was on lock. So then I had to try and undo the lock before I could press play.
And Simon's already in a bad mood.
And he's getting in a more bad mood for this reason. To be honest, I didn't actually hear him say my name in such an impatient way, but I'm glad I didn't, because I think I would have been even more nervous.
And good for you. You sorted out your technicals. You stood your ground.
Yeah.
And then you were fantastic. Now, you were playing the soprano sax. Tell us about that instrument, because it doesn't look like everything. What's the most common sax that we all think? Is that the tenor?
Probably the most popular ones are tenor and alto. They're kind of, much more conventional saxophone shape.
And they sort of bend around, don't they? But your soprano sax.
That's right. Often when I'm playing, I can always, 9 times out of 10, people will come and say, "Can you tell me what that instrument is?" And I can see them making the shape. They're telling, "Oh no, that's not a saxophone. A saxophone looks like this, But and then they come over and say, "Oh, I've won the bet," or So yeah, it's a straight saxophone. You can actually get a soprano saxophone in a conventional shape, but it's very tiny. And it's kind of, if you play that one, people think you're playing a toy. If you play the straight one, they think it's not a saxophone. So it's kind of, I've played both, and in the end, I've settled on the straight one.
Because you are a sax teacher, aren't you, in real life?
Yes, I do teach people to play saxophone and clarinet.
Let's go back to the beginning. Why did you audition? Who persuaded you to audition?
I think my wife is the biggest reason. She really kind of pushed me to do it. I've been watching these programs, and I do realise how people get a step up in their career. But also, I see the flip side where people go on there and they maybe don't get such positive comments, and the career that they might have gets damaged. And I was just thinking, well, what if I went in there and they didn't say nice things, and it could have the opposite effect.
Yeah, but it's a big gamble.
Yeah, it was a gamble, and I thought, okay, I just have to take the risk because life's too short.
And where were the auditions this year?
In the Alexandra Theatre.
So it was at the Alex. Yeah, I can't remember going last year, but and so what was the whole day like?
I remember we had an incredibly long wait. I didn't expect it to be quite so long. So
people queue around the block, don't they?
Yeah, I was sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. You kind of go from one room, then they get you through to the next room, and then eventually, suddenly, they ask you to come, and you backstage. You kind of walk across the road, outside, and then hang around backstage, and you maybe have 2 or 3 more acts before you, and then suddenly they ask you to stand on the, by the side of the stage.
So it's a long day. Your nerves are jangling all the way through. Gosh, how did you keep yourself composed? You've got your lovely wife who's here with you today.
Yeah, she was there with me. So it was nice to have a bit of company, and I don't think she coped too well when everybody started standing up and applauding. I think she kind of collapsed on the floor, she was telling me.
Where did your wife watch the performance then? At side of stage? Or?
No, well, I actually told her she couldn't stand at the side of the stage, which I think I've since found out wasn't quite true. But she was in the audience, and then everybody stood up, and then she couldn't stand up. So I think she missed probably most of it, but she heard it anyway.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. So Julian Smith, the saxophonist from Hale Zone, is in the studio this morning. He's about to be, I think, Britain's next big thing. But can I just explain, can you explain why you're not playing for us this morning?
Well, I have been told I'm not allowed to. I would have loved to have played to you this morning, but I've been told I can't do any live playing anywhere.
This is ITV
Yes.
getting you in a contract
Yes.
because you got through this stage. Okay, I just wanted to explain that to everybody because everybody at home is going to think, well, why hasn't Julian got him playing? And we'd love to have had you playing today. So whenever you can
Would it
play
be
in the
nice?
future, we'll sort something out. Maybe you can come on one of my summer tours and play with us or something. So, Julian, what happens next? You wowed the crowds last week playing Somewhere from West Side Story on your soprano sax. The judges absolutely loved you. Where do you go from here?
Well, I think the judges put a number of contestants through to kind of the stages in London, and then they decide who they want to have to actually play, live at the end of May. It'll be on every night in the last week of May, and those people who are picked will be playing live.
Oh, no,
Or
that's...
performing live, sorry.
And the last week of May, is that when we get to vote?
That's right, it becomes a phone vote then. I think what happens, there's 8 contestants will play every night of the week, and the viewing public will vote 2 through to Saturday night.
Right.
And then there'll be 10 people on, I think it's the 30th of May is the big final, and then whoever wins the
So that's like the
public vote.
Whitsun week there. Everybody, we've got to vote Julian.
Oh, please.
Obviously, we don't know whether we've got any other
Well-
locals coming up yet, but at the moment, you are our man. And you did play fantastically on Saturday night. And the crowd, you said your wife was in the crowd.
Yes,
She was
she-
completely, when
Yes.
everybody stood up cheering, she
I
completely...
think she missed most of it, but she heard it, so, and now she's watched it back, so.
Yeah. And what's been the reaction of your friends and family around Hales Owen?
Well, it's very strange for me that I can walk out and people recognise my face. I mean, it's just really weird. It's just like a few minutes on the TV and then suddenly...
Because you got your woolly hat on and your very trendy cardigan today.
Yes.
You don't actually look like a serious saxophonist, I have to say.
Well, if I take the hat off, I've noticed I'm not so recognisable, so that
Yes, you're keeping your little woolly hat on. And what's the best thing that could happen to you from this, Julian?
Well, as I said, my ultimate dream would be to get that record deal and people to buy my albums, and then I could do concerts and people would come to see me and already, possibly like me. And it must be kind of the easiest gig to do, really.
So worldwide domination you're looking for,
well,
are
that
you?
sounds very large, but it would be nice to think I could go, different places in the world and play. I mean, I suppose the good thing about I'm playing instrumental music, it's kind of open to any country because there's no language barriers.
I'm asking people to call in this morning if they've ever been in a talent competition, maybe at Butlins or at school or Pop Idol or Shop Idol. Had you ever done anything like this before?
Actually, I'll be honest with you now. Let me think. Around about 1993, I did a talent contest at Hales Owen Cricket Club. So if anybody remembers that, I remember. And I did actually win. I did it as a duo with a friend of mine. And I won a little trophy.
There you go. So he started off at Hales Owen Cricket Club and he's about to have world domination. What about if nothing comes of this, though, Julian, and it's just 15 minutes of fame?
Well, what's happened so far, I've kind of had a nice audition on TV and had nice comments, and I suppose that can be never taken away. So if nothing else, it might help me get some better gigs.
Yeah, and some more students.
Yeah, some more students, who like.
And when
like
will
to
we
play
see you
sax.
on television next?
Well, that's not for definite, you see. I mean, I have to be chosen to be in the final. But if they do choose me, I guess it could be the last week in May.
Okay. Well, and if you do get there, we're all going to be voting, aren't we, ladies and gentlemen? Julian Smith from Hales Owen playing his sax. He needs our vote when he appears on television next. Love to hear from you this morning. If you've ever been in a talent competition, 08453 009956, or you can text 07786 202 956. Julian, lots of luck.
It's been very kind of you to have me here. Thank you.